Sure.
I'm okay, thanks.
Well, they go to
Hair's real messy, I'm crutching around.
Not to get a ball in.
My butt is always like flopping around.
No pen and paper to ask a question.
You want some paper and a pen, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on, I'll take it. There's another table.
Yeah, if you mean, what is these little notebooks?
I can go ahead.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
Oh, you have some?
Yes.
And we can bring a microphone to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tracy said she didn't know.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. She said she forgot.
Oh.
Let's wait 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
We each got our own table.
Yeah. Oh, you're behind.
Yeah.
You get lost, Steph? All those
No, no.
insurance get in here?
For the arrows.
Here. You wanna,
Sure.
oh, it's got lines.
Nobody else will see it.
Everybody's okay. Everybody's okay, real hard.
Ooh, look at this bread.
Well, about bags.
I have Ziploc bags for ice, I can use it for food instead. Snacks for my dad for the room later.
Yep. Thank you.
And leave Victoria, go all the way and invest and then go all the way back to the nine, one nine, no. And drop in the nine, I'll get a ride home with someone else.
That doesn't sound very nice.
He drives like a hybrid car now, so. it's
Oh.
like gas.
Oh. No, I'm going home after the session.
Yeah,
the normal.
Pay off sick. The silver. There's more of the.
I planned it all as if I was like not on crutches.
Slow down. This was
And then I'm like, no, that doesn't work. You're in crutches.
ever silver.
You know, there's that pain because you've got everywhere gonna have one hallway.
Kevin, how many online?
Well, I actually packed a
3
here.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Tracy and Jackson and Carl.
And who?
So like.
Last report.
Or
Oh,
Must be, seen a couple by some people. And then it looked like I got. It was.
I'm gonna grab this.
Okay,
Okay, make sure it's the right kind of stuff for you.
Minor, keeps you like.
Okay. Thank you. 3:10. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll introduce myself in a couple of minutes. And welcome to this all candidates meeting. The 3 candidates are sitting next to me. You'll get a chance to hear from them. Then you get a chance to ask them questions, and that applies to people in the room. And the 3 so far who are online who might have some questions to ask. But before we do anything, I'd like to invite Edward, if you could just give us a good word to start the event with. Let us know if you want us to stand while we do that. No, see that is okay. Thank you for volunteering.
We'll go to the host nations, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam First Nations territories we're here on. All in our ancestors to give us strength, give us guidance to fix the faith.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving us a good start. Appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody, I'm assuming expressing something that applies to people here. And so just quick by way of introduction, my name is Ali. Last name is Mina. I'm a colleague of Kit Spence. Kit Spence, you know, he's worked with you, we've worked with the band on its meetings, and today he was not able to make it, and so I'm his backup plan. So we're colleagues. I do similar work to his, he does similar work to mine. We're both facilitators. I sometimes get invited to run meetings that are difficult meetings, and so that's, I don't think this will be the case here. We have enthusiastic candidates sitting next to me, enthusiastic audience. I'm hoping you'll have to get a chance to ask your questions in terms of asking the candidates to let you know how is it that they will participate in the next, there's only 1 year left in the term of office, but a year is a year. You cannot minimize that. There's a lot can happen in 1 year, and one of you will be a partner in the decision-making process as you join the council if you get elected. And the election is not happening today. Today, you only hear from the candidates, and the election will be facilitated at when exactly?
June 13th.
June 13th. So that's coming, but today is it's always good to be here to prepare yourself, to listen, to learn, and so that when you vote, you cast an informed vote. And that's more than I can say for maybe some of the elections that have happened when people vote on popularity and not on substance. So today, there will be some substance on the 3 candidates, and you'll be able to make an informed choice as to who you want to join the council. Are we doing okay? If you need to make an adjustment, feel free. You just, here we are. Okay. So, the sequence will be, you doing okay? You can hear me. The sequence will be the candidates are sitting next to me in the order in which they will speak, except it will change a little bit. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. Then when it comes to questions, I will go with 2, 3, and then back to 1, and then another question will go to. Just basically going to letting different individuals begin answering the question, and then the people next to them will be answering the same question. So anyway, that's what I thought we could do. Just have the opening comments, and what I advise the candidates is this, that I have these little cards here, and when you begin, and that's when the timer will tick. You're given 3 minutes for the opening comments, and when you ask a question, you can give up to 2 minutes. So I might show you the signal saying proceed. Then if you come to a minute before you end, I might just this time wrap it up. And then when time is up, I'll just pull up this sign. We say time up. But just in this meeting, it may not be much of a problem, but in some meetings, then I always have to be prepared for the worst. I hope for the best. Getting ready for the challenging meeting, we need to have some way of engaging the participants in the discussion. learning from them, at the same time managing the clock, managing time. And the end result needs to be you make an informed decision. That's the most important thing that should come out of today. And thank you very much for coming and allowing enabling the discussion to with more than a candidate. So, so the candidates now know how I will time them. And I would like now to invite the first individual, and that is Nicole. If you can return. It's on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So 3 minutes and
All right, time to table. Hi there, I'm Nicole Malcolmson. I appreciate you all taking the time today to come and join us and raise my hands to the speaker, Ellie. Thank you for having us. And Edward for opening for us.
Closer to the,
Can you hear me? How about now?
closer. Keep when you talk,
Closer.
there you go.
Oh, okay, we're getting close. Hi there, Nicole Malcolmson here. To introduce ourselves, I'll talk a little bit about myself. I am a mother of 3 wonderful children. I currently work for BC Ambulance as a project coordinator supporting the senior and executive directors of Indigenous Health, the important work. Previously, I have worked with the Recent Project, which is a research project in partnership between the Toronto Tribal Council and UBC. I've gone to UBC myself for Indigenous Health Leadership. Graduated in 2023. I come from the Johnson family, and it's been a long time since I talked into a microphone. So I'm just trying to think a little bit more about what I'd like to share with this day. Oh, I decided to run for this particular term because I care about the Huu-ay-aht people and the future of our nation, how our citizens are experiencing government in their day-to-day lives. I think people want to feel connected to the decisions and included in how those decisions are made. Through my work at BCHS within the Indigenous Health, it's been an amazing opportunity, and I feel like I'm in a place in my life where I can give back. I'm always touching cards.
you still have 1 minute.
Okay. At this point in my career and stage of life, I feel ready and capable to carry the work forward, working within the government systems at the provincial level. And that depends on community engagement strategy. I feel that would translate well into the daily skills that are going to be asked of me here. Working on one part of a larger picture, this is a person, being a mother and a coach, I get to bring these perspectives along with me. And the perspective of everyday pressures that many of our white families are experiencing in our community. I'll wrap it up there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In case you wanted to know, it was 2 minutes and 37 seconds. We're doing well. So next we'll hear from Connie. Wait, or is yours?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Marge and Jeff and Frida and Eddie and Karen. Also to acknowledge the territory we're on today. So most Huu-ay-ahts know me. It was fun connecting with first-time voters that are going to be voting in this by-election. Different thoughts, different understandings, different eyes. And so it's been interesting talking to the younger generation. So I've been around for a few years now. This by-election I have noticed is a little bit different. It's a little bit heavier. There's emotion tied very much to this by-election, and I feel it. I feel it from the citizens. It's work that has to be done, and just doing it very respectfully and cautiously has been really important to me. And yeah, I'm excited to be part of this again. Was kind of sad when I was coming over. The last time I came was with Stella. It just made me think of when we came, finding our way around. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And a third speaker is Sherry. 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you for coming out. I know it's beautiful outside and there's plenty of other things people could be doing today. But being here is your right and responsibility as well. My name is Sherry Cook. My traditional name is Huu-ay-aht. My parents are Jeff and Laverne Cook. My children are Frederick and Sarita. I don't come from a really large family, but we are very close and we're very culturally active and do a lot of things in community. Just to give you some background on myself, I am active with HFNDC, Economic Development, Citizenship, Huu-ay Council, Tribunal Process, and Exclusion Orders. I come from a background working 15 years in the school district. Currently, I work at USMA, a child protection agency in the Nuu-chah Territory. And I had also worked with HFN in the Education and Community Communications Department. I'm part of AIR's Art and Education Group, where we use education from children or artwork from children to teach about the history of residential school. I help my dad with all his various things that he says, we're doing this. And I run a charity organization group called the Cook Family and Friends. We try to take down barriers for kids to participate in sports. Some of the things that I think, and you can see it evident here today, that it's all women up here. I think women are the backbone of the nation. And I feel like I'm a strong Huu-ay-aht woman that can carry a heavy burden. It's a short period of time. It's really truly only 11 months because of the 30 days pinned down at the end. So trying to do the best that I can do in a shorter period of time, carrying forward the passions that were already on the table from Stella. She was very strongly advocating the Community Safety Act. And she was also very strong in the community, not just Huu-ay-aht, but with the Banfield community as well. Making sure that we don't lose momentum in all the things that have already been put on the table and that are already in motion. Continuing to stay active in the community. I have a very busy entrepreneur. For those of you who don't know, Sarita and I own a candy shop. And it's very, very busy. And my brother and I own a fishing charter business. So we're based out of Banfield. So trying to fit it all in, trying to do it all and be that strong Nuu-chah Huu-ay-aht woman that our nation needs right now. Because we're, as Connie said, we're missing a very strong, powerful woman now going into this election. So I'm hoping that people vote smart and what can be done in the short amount of time before the next election.
Waited perfectly 3 minutes. Okay, thank you very much for those presentations. Now we open it for questions. We'll start questions in the room. At some point, we'll see how those who are online should keep this in mind. If you want to ask a question, you need to push the raise hand, and then we'll see it here and we'll be able to call on you. Even though you're not in the room, so everybody is valued by the candidates for you. So we'll start with the questions in the room. Anyone has any questions to all three candidates? Things that you want them to answer, issues you want them to respond to, choose to consider that, consider what they said. Anyone, just raise your hand and the microphone will come your way. Okay, yeah, good. Just wait for the mic because we want everybody to hear you, including those online. So we don't want to
Can't go out enough. Anyway, my first question is, because this is a by-election and you're filling a spot that's become vacant, unfortunately. Can you tell me what your portfolios are will be, if you're, well, can you tell me what portfolio you're going to hold in fulfilling this vacancy?
Thank you very much. We'll start with you, Connie. Can you answer the question, then we'll go, next one will be Sherry, and we'll come back to Nicole. Same question.
Thanks, Marge. I don't know what portfolio, if I'm successful, that would be up to John to decide if he's going to shuffle any of the portfolios or if it would be Stella's portfolio. I'm not sure what John is thinking that would be assigned. Thanks.
Sherry,
Apologies, it'll be the same answer. But I'm assuming that it'll lend toward the strengths that I have with culture, economic development, and child and families. Because I already have background in those areas as well as education. But I understand that everybody else on the team has their strengths and they might also fit in those categories for a portfolio.
Thank you for the question, Marge. I'll also reflect the same kind of answer of I'm not fully sure quite what's ahead of us in terms of the shuffling, what's available. The expertise that I bring though is mostly tied to Indigenous health specific items and anything data governance kind of related. That's kind of where my background sits right now. I'm not sure if there's, any restructuring that will happen at John's discretion, but yeah, open to learn whatever's not currently occupied. I'd really love the child and family one, but I realize that Edward has that one, so I'm not sure if he's gonna get it.
thank you very much. We, is there any question from the internet? And maybe just advise them that if they have difficulty hearing, maybe we need to ask here.
One question.
You have a question? Can you project it?
I can project it. A question from Coralie. In the 2023 election, council made promise to citizens when they were being sworn in. Can you tell me what that promise was and why it was important?
Yeah, that would be, Sherry?
Yeah, I can't recall, actually. I know there was lots of promises and one of the promises was the Community Safety Act. And one of them was the promise to stand up women and have them be protected in a way that hadn't been done before.
Moving to Nicole.
Thank you for your question, Carly. I can't quite recall. I wasn't part of that 2023 council series, aside from being a voter, but my guess would be revolving around community safety, because that was a big trend in conversation at that time when this council came to be, and I think we've done some pretty meaningful pieces towards that. Sorry if I'm mistaken, but I'm not sure.
Thank you. I also am not positive on what the commitment was when council was sworn in. I do also echo what the other two have said, that safety was huge. It was a driving force in the last election process. Thanks.
Anyone in the room with a question for the candidate? Anyone who is here? I would say to me that no such thing as a stupid question, please. And I'm glad one is coming. Go ahead. maybe introduce yourself and then,
Hello, my name is Rita Dennis. I have a question for Connie and Nicole. Cause Sherry is my niece, and my question to you two is, she's my niece running. And I was wondering, how would you persuade me to vote for you?
Sure. Thank you for your question, Rita, and I don't know if I could persuade you just on the fact that your relative is a brilliant woman. I just hope that I could showcase some of the skills that what I would like to say about myself and, you know, potentially persuade you and others to vote for me is I'm currently an unrepresented demographic across Huu-ay-aht Nation. And my lived experience may have some similarities to both of my other candidates, but no one is currently in the situation that I am as a working parent professional that's educated and that's in their 30s. It's a little bit different time right now as a working parent, just being a part of the middle class myself. It's a perspective that you know, can lend itself in many different ways. And you know, like while they've both been in my position, I've not yet been in theirs, but I've also never been in a leadership position. Both of these people have. And often I hear that we're hoping to have the next generation, but I kind of feel like at the stage that I am at in my life, I should be looking at handing, you know, my seat or, you know, the gauntlet to the next younger generation, being 35, but I still haven't been welcome to the table when it comes to decision making. Thank you.
Thanks, Rita. I guess how I would persuade you is my commitment to not just to Huu-ay-aht, but being Huu-ay-aht. I've always felt that well, in my words, I always say I live and breathe Huu-ay-aht. And I know that in the different roles that I've had, that I've always kept front and center of who I work for. I work for the people in whatever role I'm doing. My job is there to carry out the direction of the Huu-ay-aht citizens. Thank you.
and, you're okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
It's smiling is always. Life is for learning, I'm sure.
Not to answer it, but in reverse.
You think I should have to answer it, but in reverse? We already talked.
You want to respond to the same question?
No.
Okay, are there any questions online?
Yeah, one more. Did I lose the? Coralie. Coralie's question is, Huu-ay-aht completed an inquiry panel investigation, and from that, some very critical recommendations came out. What are your thoughts on the report, and how will you work towards implementing them, in particular around the abuse of power recommendations?
Okay. Do you want to think about that before you begin to answer? If you want to take a moment, would you take a silent moment for the three of you? Because if it is complicated, you may need time to think it.
And if you want to-
Whenever you're ready. Yeah. We can just let me know. Okay.
Okay, I don't have all of the recommendations in front of me. But in particular to abuse of power, well, to me, that's following our treaty and holding each other accountable. If one of us knows something is going on, we need to speak up, and our place to speak up is at the moment, in the moment. Um. I'm trying to be diplomatic. Yeah, because abuse of power it's there for anybody across the board in a position, but in leadership especially, it's holding yourself accountable, your integrity, who you are as an individual. And knowing that you're representing the people that I don't know how you can hold your head and walk and face the people if you're abusing the role that they have put you in. So just following your own integrity and the laws that are put there, who you are as an individual.
I think I want to say clearly that abuse of power is a broad spectrum. Just to say it lightly, there's very specific things that we know have happened in our nation. And much like bullying at school, if you're a bystander, you're just as guilty. So I want to stand by that, and I want to tell you that I've never been secretive about my life. I've shared my infertility secrets because it was difficult. I've shared my struggles with having a baby that was born under 2 pounds. I've shared the tragedy of my marriage dissolving and having to start from nothing all over again. And I think it holds true to who I am to be transparent at all times. I've got nothing to hide. If anybody wants to ask me, you know, what's your annual meal allowance when you're traveling, I'll tell you. If somebody wants to say, well, how come you're not in community? Then I can say, well, I was somewhere else doing something else that was just as important as being in community, or vice versa. My place is in community. My place is with our people. I don't have a problem discussing things that have happened in the past. They need to be changed. And obviously somebody somewhere was strong enough to say something, because we wouldn't know about it if somebody else didn't stand up first. I've been in situations that have forced me to stand up. I've been on a coroner's inquest panel. I've been on jury duty. And those things are places where our voices need to be heard. And it also needs to be heard when people are abusing their authority and abusing their power. So I'm not afraid to stand up for anybody, including myself. I've got nothing to hide. I'll be transparent at all times. Chew.
Thank you for the question, Carly. That was a really big report, and it's going to change the way that many treaty governments interact with the situation that we had, because I know it wasn't unique to just Huu-ay-aht. The work that went into that, the things that changed because of that report. I think we'll be dealing with, I don't want to say the follow-up because it's not a follow-up, but the change for a long time. But what I see, how our government has pivoted and began shifting, you know, the reporting structures to ombudsman person, and, you know, being able to report on these matters and having mechanisms in place for when they do come up has been brilliant. And, you know, the proper reaction that we should have taken to the allegations and the harms that came out of it. I really look forward to the healing and the opportunity that is coming from that report. While it was a tough decision for, you know, probably the nation to take that stance, I'm certainly glad that they did. When it comes to what would I do, in terms of ensuring that it's, you know, upheld, is to increase the structure around reporting and how are we taking things before they become problems. You know, for quite a long time, this stuff would not come to light. But I think there's some other indicators, you know, that could support our citizens before it gets to that level and that magnitude of needing to report out something so heavy. And I think it's really important that we don't shy away from these questions and just take the same stance that we've seen our current leadership take, and, you know, do the right thing to uphold accountability. and to not silo power into a certain few positions or in silence, and just create a system of accountability built into our governance structure rather than hoping that people just do the right thing. Thank you.
Any more online or anyone in the room has more questions to the three candidates?
We have 5 online now.
I'm waiting to.
5 questions or 5?
Five.
Oh, 5 people?
Oh.
Not questions yet. I'm sure they're coming, but somebody's typing.
Anyone in the room who has. more? Okay, this is another one. Okay.
I don't have a direct question. Oh, I do, I guess it'd be a direct question, but you know, in terms of abuse, I hear, as although I live in Vancouver, when I go home, I hear little stories about domestic violence. And you know, I'm concerned about the treatment that our women take in that situation. And I wonder if, you know, executive council has the power to intervene when it's necessary.
One would like to get us going.
It's Nicole first, I think. Is it me first?
You were first.
Oh,
first.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's Nicole first.
Sounds good. So I think I heard your question asked as, what role does the executive council take when it comes to domestic violence? I think ways that council could support individuals in those situations is referring them to proper services, ensuring that their stories are heard in a confidential way that protects the victims, and that we're not continuing to perpetuate the violence that they face, to take it seriously when it is brought forward, when we're made aware of it, to continue on with the work of the Community Safety Act, and to ensure that it is upheld within the government system, not just as an individual. I have some pretty strong views about domestic violence, and that's definitely not a term or topic that I would take lightly if it came to decision making. But again, you know, women and children do need support. They do need to be protected. And I'm not quite sure how council could continue on the trajectory that they're on of ensuring that people are heard and cared for. I definitely would support them in that decision making.
Okay, thank you. Domestic violence is a tough one. For executive council to bring, well, like the security in place, but that's isolated to the community. But to just have the information, the supports out there and made of individuals aware, citizens aware, and that there is always somebody to reach out to, because I don't know legally what executive council can do. Just, I mean, it's sad that it's a familiar topic. But I don't know, just bringing more awareness, being able to connect with the individual that's being abused, and it's not always the female, it's the male at times as well. And that there is help, and to make the help more easily available where there's no shame. Because once it's out and people start talking, then you're like a hermit crab and you just go back into your shell. And so just really being there as a way to support. I don't really know how else executive council can be involved without crossing lines. Yeah. That's all I got, thanks.
Thank you for such a very important question that tugs at all of our heartstrings, because domestic violence is just not cool at any level, whether it's male or female or involving children. Much like the others, I think that the elected body doesn't have a whole lot of control over how to intervene, but more defer to administration. What staffing, what departments, what agencies can help families and victims. And just to list off a few options that they can refer to, RCMP, Victim Services, Huu-ay-aht Council probably has more stringent things that they can do to step in, which we have been doing lately. We have a whistleblower clause to help people come forward a little bit more. I believe in a balanced approach. You know, I think that all people who are the aggressors were also victims at some point, so they need help. They need help. We can't just help the one person. We have to help the person who's offending, and we have to help the person who's a victim, as well as the children and the families involved. We have a Whitwalk security team on treaty settlement land that can be approached at any time and be given a red flag to say, hey, I saw this, can you keep an eye on it? Well, there's USMA, has social workers that go into community, and family service workers that go into community, youth outreach workers go into community. MCFD is if there's families that are off treaty settlement land, but in the Alberni Valley. And I would say this wholeheartedly, that people could refer to Karen, the executive director, to look into doing exclusion orders for offenders, because at this point, she's the only person that can actually do it. So there's lots of avenues to support. I think elected officials themselves can't do a whole lot, their hands are tied, because it's blurring the lines a little bit. But knowing what all these agencies are and how all these different supports are in place is vital to being in the role.
Anything from
Yeah.
online? One here,
So one more here.
I just did have this first.
Any questions?
anyone here, any more questions? So, is there one from online?
Yeah, you're right.
This one is from Shannon Nookmis. Do you feel the current funding for extracurricular programs meets the needs of our citizens?
No. I don't. The cost of living anywhere is more expensive, the cost of groceries is more expensive, the cost of fuel is more expensive, the cost of hockey is more expensive. Everything in life is more expensive. And in saying that, I wanna say this too. Where are we gonna get the money from? You know, I can say it's not enough money. You've got a kid in hockey, you're spending $800 ish, right? Like just to be playing. And then you're paying for travel, and then you're paying for skates, and then you're paying for gear, or you're playing soccer. My niece is out in Seabird Island, and she was just in Victoria last weekend. And I guarantee you she's spending $3,000 a month to get her kids to soccer and basketball and camps and gear and registration. I don't believe what the nation currently gives is enough. But also, I tell my children this: if you're gonna come to me with a problem, also come to me with a solution. My son, we had a rule that when he was 6 years old, he said, Mom, I don't wanna go to hockey. I woke him up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Mom, I don't wanna go. I said, you better get your ass out of bed. You're going because I paid for it. The next year, I made him do a fundraiser, and he paid for himself to go to hockey for the next 10 years and to go to lacrosse. And then when he was wasting his own money, he realized he didn't want to waste his money. He was gonna drag his ass out of bed at 5:30 in the morning so he could get to hockey. So, but that's my response is no. But my response is also, what's the solution?
Okay. see what your comments are. Please.
Thank you for the question, Shannon. I just want to say, Shannon, you're a hard act to follow sometimes. I kind of based my platform off of this entire thought process of why is it the way that it is currently? And I'm not saying, you know, the nation's not doing enough for us. And, you know, like I'm grateful for what we do have made available at this point in time, but I think it should be expanded. I think that there could be more inquiries made towards funding sources. And I just want to bring it back to the basis of if we don't have the data to support these types of comments or thoughts or realities that we live with, we need to find a way to like demonstrate on a larger level of like it's not meeting the needs of our people currently. And sports are expensive, tutoring is expensive, you know, any sort of music class is expensive. And, you know, what Huu-ay currently gives us is enough to get started in the door. But I have a son that plays elite hockey, and it is ungodly expensive. And it comes from places like private sponsors and fundraising, or, you know, taking out a second job to make it happen. And I realize that's a place of privilege. Not everyone has the health, the time, the availability, the understanding, the connections to do those things. And I personally feel like this is something that the nation should, you know, spend a little bit more effort on procuring for people, because it's not just about getting kids there. It's about the ones that also, you know, could take that extra step, right? I mean, how many Indigenous athletes are currently out there? I feel like there's so many talented kids. And if that's the one true barrier in getting them, you know, across that point of whether it's, you know, water level or, you know, kids get a little bit more serious. I think, you know, the sky's the limit when it comes to our youth and our future, right? Like, if you invest in kids today, like we may have to invest less later, because it's making them better people. It makes them team players. It makes them have something to work for. Sure, you had a great example of having your son, you know, pay his way to make it happen. And that's a reality for a lot of us. And sometimes it's tough to have like the creative thinking to come up with these ideas for them to get that money, or sometimes it's just not successful mechanism in place to be able to help our youth compete a little bit more in that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Not knowing exactly what the budget is, but agreeing with these two, it probably isn't enough. But we could probably say that for a lot of things because of the cost of living. Just going to the grocery store, it's $100 for one bag of groceries. And so sports, I know is expensive. My son played hockey, my granddaughter's in cheer. I didn't think cheer was really that expensive, but it is. And I'm finding out how much that is, but investing in our youth, Nicole's right, like for their mental health, for their future, for as they excel in the different activities that they're in. You know, they're going through some of them are starting to go through the toughest times, and that's their teens, and having the sports is the healthiest way to get through your teens with all of the distractions and whatnot. I mean, tragically, I lost a cousin this week, and he was a teen, and I'm not saying it was anything he did, but it's just, you know, teens need to be constantly busy in extracurricular activities from the ground up is healthy. I mean, I don't know if Jack still plays soccer, but I admire him. Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone in the room who has a question and hasn't asked a question at all? Do we want to make level playing field anyone who is in the room and has a question, especially one that's something frustrates you, finally, let's get it out. Anyone is here, and then I'll ask if there's anyone online who has a question who has not asked it. Anyone here? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, me again, living here on the lower mainland and, with the nation, and I would, is there some way that we could find out how we're doing? Are we progressing? Our investments bringing us profit? Because we never hear anything really over here until we go to the AGM meeting. And sometimes you would like to know ahead of time, where our funds are going and if we're making any profits on what we're doing, whether it be at home in Port Alberni or where else, everywhere else, right? And it's important for us to know to be ever margin on with others, and it would be really appreciated if somebody would let us know, right? Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I got lost in the order there. Thank you, Rita. I agree. I would love to see more communication happen back to citizens and community members, especially people who don't live in the Alberni area or in Akla, about how it's going with the nation. And one thing I've heard a couple of times is that people aren't feeling communicated with. And I don't think it's a lack of reporting that's happening right now, like why it couldn't be shared. But can I give you a follow-up question just to see if we can elaborate a little bit more? I'm just kind of wondering is how would you like to be communicated with from the nation as it currently is today? Is it more mailouts? Is it more, like personal phone calls? I'm not sure if you're on Facebook, and I know they do post.
It's really fun. Maybe we'll get to master fun once we hear the other two.
Yes.
And
That works.
then, when the two respond.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah, and I think that works. But that's kind of where my brain goes of like, how are we missing people currently? And again, bringing it back to that data governance piece of the system to do some of the work for us of how can we report on these trends that are actually important to the citizens, and where is that breakdown in communication happening currently? I had a good look around online and I didn't see anything, really tracking through meeting minutes, from one month to the next, in a way that you could really follow things as a citizen if you just want to kind of check in and, like decide if you're gonna, take that time out of your day to come join at the People's Assembly. That's one thing I would like to see improved on is just how are we sharing the information that our decisions from the leadership level back to citizens in a way that they understand it and answer the questions that people have without making them wait till People's Assembly. Thank you.
Thanks, Rita. This is something that I've heard from quite a few citizens over the last couple of weeks is communication. I know that there is a lot of communication that comes out of the office already. But what I'm hearing consistently is, because we only have one People's Assembly, what is stopping us from meeting informally more throughout the year, leading up to the People's Assembly. And also, a lot of comments I received was it's great to receive a mail out, but it's better to see each other. And that's the most favorite way of communicating that I've heard as far as updates. So in particular, profits. a lot of citizens have asked about HGB and the profits there, where we're at quarterly, not just yearly. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think it's not, something that's unique to just people in Vancouver or just elders. I think it's a question that is in everyone's mind of how are we doing? Because we don't get updates enough. You and I had a little while ago, one of the things that you said that you liked was, phone calls. Like a phone call from somebody in the nation to say, hey, this is what's going on. Do you have any concerns? Whether it's an elders worker, a cultural worker, somebody from the finance team saying, did you get the package in the mail? Someone from HGB sending you an email, all of those things are important, but they all come back to what these ladies said was communication. Not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody has the app, not everybody keeps their mailing address up to date. There's so many things that happen that are different for every person. But I know that the legislature, when they meet, they put their stuff online, what they're gonna be talking about. And that's an opportunity to phone and say, hey, this is on your agenda. Can you bring this up for me, that I want something different? I know that HGB does quarterly reports, and I'm sure they're open to phone calls. In fact, my dad goes there all the time to harass them, but just ask for what you're asking for and be honest with them. And if you need someone to help you do that, then that's why we're here. The other thing to think about is that HFNDC, their fiscal year end is different than the nation's fiscal end. So when their numbers are ready, it's past our deadline, we're done already. And that's kind of some of the things that we've been battling at a different level of getting the reports to the nation so the nation can report to all the citizens, but then HGB isn't done with them yet. So that's a big thing, is one of the things that is troublesome is that we don't get the reports from them on time to get them to you. So that's why I'm saying cut it in the base and just go right to HGB and ask directly, because I'm sure that they have at least some basic answers for you. Too.
You should start about your memorize that from the past. Which is practicing. Process wise, I think we need to hear if there is anyone who has not asked a question before we do follow up. And one other thing to consider is that the conversation does not have to end here today. In fact, I find it when chief and councilman I work with them the types of town hall meetings are held on a regular basis, and sometimes if there's substantial concentration of population in different areas, they will go up to and have a town hall meeting in a respective area. Costs money, but it's an investment. Would be one way of looking at it. Anyone else in the room who has not asked the question? Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, Jeff Cook. Reflecting back here, there's a big project that we have going for a couple of years. It's a tribunal act that has been out distributed around to everyone to look at or to come in and talk about what if they have any comments on the tribunal act. I'm just wondering if any of you have looked at it, reviewed it. And, I don't want to know your thoughts, but, if you have any thoughts, have you talked about it or discussed it with anybody? And I think my other comment was, I know that last year at the People's Assembly, there was a motion put forward about getting reports on the children's money that's held in trust. So that's a kind of a start, it's always been there. But it's just a matter of reporting it out. I think all the records are there. It's just a matter of what you want to see. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're ready. Monica. No, we've ready. Tony, me?
So just so I understand, you don't want to know my thoughts on the Tribunal Act, but you want to know that I've reviewed it? Not in, sorry,
And if you're gonna give some thoughts after, if you're elected as a
oh,
elected person.
yeah, I know I'm on the list for having a chat with Heather. I'm very much wanting, I do have thoughts about the Tribunal Act. I've been through it myself. On both sides. So I do have some thoughts about it. I'm anxious to have my interview with her. And if I am elected, then I would like to see changes implemented. And I'm sure there's a lot of recommendations, as a lot of people have gone through the tribunal process. Thank you. I know, I just need this.
Tribunal Act, we have reviewed it at the Huu-ay Council table. I've also been involved in a tribunal. The feedback that I've received from either perpetrators or victims or people that are witnesses is that there's flaws in the system and that there is a loss of a sense of confidentiality by some, especially in the community, because it is such a small, isolated community. Even people that are not citizens, when they come to make a report, even they feel like they're at risk for doing so. So I know there's flaws in the system. I'm definitely not opposed to giving my thoughts and ideas on how it can be improved. I think it's a work in progress and we need to find out and fine tune some things in terms of tribunal and exclusion. How does that involve people that are not on TSL? And how do we protect victims at every stage through everything the nation does, from our People's Assembly having a perpetrator there, a funeral having a perpetrator there. Like, all of those things are important for us to be looking at. How do we protect the ones that have been abused or vilified in any way? It's their fault because they're the ones that stood up. And I find like just being a female probably is a bit different than how other people might perceive the act and how it's portrayed and how it's carried forward. But I think that's why you got 3 strong women up here that are willing to be in this role, to do such.
Jeff, I think you're the first male who's asked us a question today, so thank you for that. I don't know enough about how the Tribunal Act functioned before. It only has gotten my attention in the last couple of years, and I can't quite tell you what those changes would look like or should look like. I haven't really engaged with it myself. It's not something I've either had brought against me or have really been a part of, aside from spectating it. It very well could be some of the issues that these ladies have touched on already. But I think it's important to have a public factor available for citizens to, one, you know, have it be shared with us so that we understand what is happening. What are the problems that are happening? I don't think it should be a process used to really necessarily victimize people on either side of it, but I mean, I think it is really important to report back to our citizens on what issues are the people in our nation facing, how are they engaging with that process. And I think there's a level of, and I guess, being anonymous with the Ombudsman program that they have now as well too. I don't know enough about it to really give more thoughts on it besides, and I think it's a needed service. I mean, we have it for rental agencies, we have it for different, you know, like small claims issues as well too. And I think helps humanize some of the problems that, you know, people are facing in a way that doesn't kind of shift into the shadows, but again, too, I'm not somebody who's been involved in that process, so it may land a little bit differently for me than the next person. But thank you for your question.
Just before we turn around, something I didn't do that I would want to do just before we end the meeting, and that is acknowledge the individuals who support this meeting. So we have on my left side, staff member Alexis, who's been in contact with me beforehand and coordinate this thing. And then we have Karen, Karen, yeah, Karen, who's been watching over the Zoom and then Uni. So we've been supporting you at the door, so it's always good to acknowledge staff support that you receive. So I just wanted to do that. Any more questions? Online? Nothing online. If you wish, we can bring it to a close. As soon as you're ready. Yeah. Yeah, we're ready. You can be going on. Okay.
I'm gonna make a comment first about the communication and, you know, being away from home. In the past, especially when we were, you know, talking about becoming a treaty and so on, we had a lot of communication with our leaders. And then, you know, things start to fade away, and now we set that community engagements, and we don't have that anymore. And you know, I know it's costly, but I think that a lot of us that are away from home kind of feel isolated from what's going on. I mean, you know, like there was this big celebration in Campbell River, and I read about it in Facebook. If I wasn't on Facebook, I probably would not have known about it, but you know, and so you know, those community engagements allowed us to get to know who our leaders are. And it also, at the end of every meeting, we had, you know, some cultural practice. And that's the only time that the children witnessed our culture, because they don't see it that often. And so when we say we want our children to become more culturally knowledgeable, we can't do that in an urban area because we don't have the singers and and the teachers to guide our kids in a way to ensure that they are getting their culture knowledge. And so I don't know if it's possible to, you know, get back to even doing a community engagement at least once or twice a year, just to and to introduce the young people about who they are and where they come from, because far too many of them don't get that information from their parents, because their parents have been away from home for so long and they don't really know too much about what is going on in our nation. So so I always have concern about that. So anyway, I have another.
These questions or statements?
I have a question. I want to know from you if you feel that our treaty is practicing our traditions in a way that we talked about when we were in our planning stages of becoming a treaty.
When you're ready. No. You ready?
I think so, it's closest to me, so I'm just gonna grab it.
Sorry about the noise in the background.
I know, I want to shush them. Yeah, I'm gonna try to break down just like some of the things he had said there, March, in ways that it resonated with me. I think we're seeing a direct impact of culture nights not happening here in this room today. I've been to Vancouver a couple of times on a couple of different occasions, and I've never seen so few Huu-ay-ahts. And, you know, I think it's really important for us, you know, to teach the younger generations about what it means to be treaty, what it means to be Huu-ay-aht. And I think it's a really great opportunity for people to try or just have more opportunities to engage with other members, with you know, our families, with the elected council, with any of the Huu-ay-aht staff. And if we don't have the community engagements anymore, or even, you know, a venue for people to come together, you know, once in a while, as, you know, our urban members, we're gonna see more of our numbers dwindle. And I mean, we can't ask people for the important stuff, like days like today, if we don't do the little stuff first. And I feel like with every process, you know, some things wax and wane, and, you know, as we do something as well, you know, maybe sometimes stuff isn't quite the same as it was even, you know, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And I feel like our treaty is doing many things for us, but I don't think we're fully practicing our traditions. I mean, I feel like a lot of our traditional events, you know, often can come off as very, very corporate. And I don't know if that's the most like welcoming way Huu-ay-aht members want to be engaging. And I would really love to see those numbers come up, and maybe that looks like some personal responsibility from everybody in Huu-ay-aht. And I know you definitely carry that torch. You and Rita both in the mind when I say that, you guys do you guys' own I guess like relationship work with people. And that's a really important piece that I'm not seeing the treaty do, but I don't know how much that is the responsibility rather than citizens' responsibility. So I think just in order to, you know, make our numbers a little bit more healthy for in the future is that is something that needs to be brought back, is the community engagement sessions and the culture, because it only happens once a month, once every other couple of months. And, you know, like the turnout was really low here. And, you know, like, I just don't think people get the chance to like practice of, you know, making it a priority. Thank you.
Thanks, Marge. Do I know, not 100%. I don't think that our treaty, we're practicing they're going hand in hand. But we knew going in that it was a living document, that we were going to have to make some changes along the way, some tweaks. Right now, it feels like we're a little bit more colonized than we were even before. We have a lot of policy and procedure, and that's required, of course, to run a government. But we've kind of lost for lack of a better word, the human side, the Huu-ay-aht side. And I noticed that yesterday in the celebration, gotta remind myself, I always felt that Huu-ay-aht was really strong when it came to the culture, and the singing was loud. You could feel it resonating in you. There was lots of singers yesterday, and granted, people have things going on. There was lots of activities, but I didn't feel the power of Huu-ay-aht that I have felt in the past. And I know, you know, and that's on us too as individuals. But I do agree that we're dropping the culture component more, so it's more structured and not. It doesn't just happen. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't mean that we're doing it wrong, but it just feels like it's another arm of government and it doesn't feel like they're going together and the culture is leading us. It feels more bureaucratic than culture. Thanks.
That's a tough question. No. We're not putting culture at the forefront visibly as a citizen. Yes, there's lots of stuff going on in the background, and I wanna list some, just so that you're aware. I think wholeheartedly, it depends on what house you're in. Cause we all, you know, we can say we don't have enough leaders, we can say we don't have enough singers, we can say that we're not teaching our young ones. But it's such a double-edged sword, because when you correct a young person, they get offended and then they don't go again. And we were all there at some point. You know, I've been at dance practice and I said to the ladies, I said, for the songs that our house owns, you walk around in the U shape, you go to your spot and you stand at your spot. You don't need to do a full turn when you get to your spot. And one of the ladies, she says to me, I'm from Likulit, this is the way we do it. I said, but you're doing my song. That's not the way we do it. I said, let's talk about it. Because this is the way we did it when we were in the community hall down at Pacina when I was a young child. You didn't turn around when you got to your spot. You just got there. And she said, I don't remember it that way. I remember what my grandpa taught me in Likulit. And I said, that's unfortunate because we've been taught differently and I'm asking you to do it this way because this is how my family does it. And she opted to not dance. So there's lots of things that come into play with culture being part of who we are in our nation. But actively, just so you know, we've created a way and we are creating a way for people to change houses. Because if you're unhappy with your leader in your house and the hutwish that is in charge of what you do, when you do it, how you do it, the songs that you can use, the names that you can use, then you should have the option to move houses. We've been working with University of Victoria to create a database that we can archive living, actively used cultural necessities like a cedar hat. A cedar hat will say belongs to Marge, is in her possession, but this is what the nation identifies as being Huu-ay-aht. We're working with, we have a language staff. For those of you who don't know, Hinatinias is our language person for the nation. She's actively working on various things, including helping name some upcoming projects and some upcoming buildings and some other things that the nation is doing. We have the Huu-ay-aht app, which actually wasn't even thought about when we were doing the treaty, but there we go, we have an app. We've got 2 hutway that don't have curtains. We've solidified funds for them to have curtains, so when their house does something, they have something to show where they are, who they are, where they're from. We're working with 3 museums to get items repatriated to the nation, and we're currently working on space to house them, store them, and display them. In my house in particular, we've been working on digitally recording the songs that are in our house. Because one day, those people that know all of that stuff, they're gonna be gone. And it's the only thing we're gonna rely on. I have songs on my phone for this specific reason, because if the people before me are gone, how am I gonna remember that? It's not like before where you just remember it, all of us, like I personally, I have so much rattling around in my head, I have to use my phone. I know all the Hutwoods are working on a naming project, and my dad was laughing at me on the ferry. I have homework. I have to come up with 100 ideas for new names for people, places, things in my house. And I wanna say this honestly, my nanny named her dog. So that's my homework. And all the chiefs have been asked to do such. I have asked our Hutwish and our communications team, when we host People's Assembly, on your registration form, it should say, what is your traditional name? So when you pick up your lanyard, when you sign in, you are addressed the way you're named. Our cultural team has let us know that they are there to support us and provide us with their knowledge to create new songs. We struggle at times, I believe, to perform songs without the hut with that is from that house present. And that is another issue that's a complete other topic, is that not all our hutway are in a healthy, safe manner at all times. We have social issues with that level of government as well, whether they're government or they're just being community members, wherever they are. It's deterring, I think, for people. You go to dance practice and the chief from your house isn't doing anything. We have chiefs who have never hosted a potluck. They don't know how. So it's there, it's troublesome, but I also wanna just say that, Hutway has been given a very healthy budget to host an event. And I encourage everyone in the room, everyone online, everyone in Huu-ay-aht to talk to the head of your house and say, hey, I wanna name my grandchildren. If you're my nanny, you wanna name your dog. Hey, I wanna do a coming of age for my daughter. All of these things need to go through the appropriate channels, and their ability to help you is more flexible than anyone else in the government. Shoot.
Just before we continue, small thing, Edward, we haven't heard much from you. Just heads up that before we end, we'll probably ask you for closing music or closing, whatever way you want to put it. I think it's a very nice way to open it and give you a heads up that asking when we get to close, that I'll ask you to do that. One sentence that comes to mind when I'm listening to some of the questions, it goes like this. Some people will look at the way things are and ask why, while others will look at the way things could be. So it sounds like a lot of this is struggle for better governance, a stronger community, united community. They express that wish for a better reality than we have today. So rather than wondering why, let's define why and say why not. That could be a good way to look at that. As you join your one of you will join, three of you, this one of you join the council, bring that spirit of that notion. Edward, did you want to comment on anything else or ask a question otherwise?
Yeah, I asked what.
Yeah.
And we have a question online.
Why do you need all my?
Okay.
I thought it was a piece of
Sorry, pants ready? Why does the Huu-ay-aht government exist? And what does it consist of? So then, thinking of the day-to-day, like thinking about the year. So what does the Huu-ay-aht government consist of? The first question to that is, why does it exist?
Or do you want to? You want to think about that and you're ready with an answer? If you're ready, you can answer.
I don't know if I have an answer, but, thanks. So why does the Huu-ay-aht government exist? It exists for the people. The people put the government there to oversee the nation, to lead the nation in the best interest of the people, to bring benefits to the nation, in all aspects, to oversee our resources, to manage, to have the accountability. It's I guess a simple analogy is the government exists the same as parents exist. They're there to take care of their children. The government is there to take care of the nation. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think that government exists to bring in checks and balances, not just for the citizens, but for the needs of the outside world. You know, the world wants us to do a lot of things. They want us to create businesses that we can't do. The world wants us to implement things. But I think some of it carries forward from colonization. Indian Affairs made us have an elected government. We didn't do that. Our hereditary system was government enough. It's a colonizer brought in structure. I think we've embraced it as much and as best we can for now. We consist of many different governing bodies. There's so many levels of government within Huu-ay-aht and the Huu-ay-aht group of businesses and Huu-ay Council. I think we dovetail, you know, I everywhere I go, when people ask how we do things, I said, we're a blend. We're a blend of two governments together making decisions for what's best for the majority of citizens. Obviously, we don't make everybody happy all the time. So we do the best we can blending the ancient and the modern together. And I think one of the things that I learned from working within staff of Huu-ay-aht was you're a public servant. As you're building your career, you're not there because you like the good paycheck from Huu-ay-aht. You're there to service citizens, and that's the structure of the government that really needs to empower our citizens, is that staff are there to help you. Elected officials are there to listen. Huu-ay Council is supposed to be there to listen. And we all have individually as citizens our own responsibilities when we're not happy with something, is to come forward and say, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with the amount of money that the elders are getting every month. I'm not happy, like you've heard earlier, with the amount of money that our young people get for extracurricular activities. It only takes one person to say something to make change.
That's insulting. Thank you for the tough question there. But I did really, at the end of the day, I don't think it's too tough of a question to really answer. I think we have government because we needed a way to have our self-determination and an option that wasn't given to us. Before, you know, our chiefs, beach keepers, you know, they caretook the chief's land, before colonization. And we wanted to make that choice for ourselves, when it came to the elected system, and we didn't have a choice to opt out of that, but we found ways to weave back in that ancient spirit with, you know, leaning on our help and, you know, really practicing what it looks like to do governance well. I see the two worlds coming together for our people, to take care of what was given to us for the next generations, to know where we came from, and to make it fair. I'm not sure if that quite answers the question that you had, but I mean, it's making the best out of that ancient spirit, modern minds, and bringing the two together, and that, yeah, self-determination of the Huu-ay-aht spirit, I think is really the best answer I have for you.
We have answered. Before we get to the next step, if we may take permission to share a quick story, and then we move forward with more. It was, I think, some years ago when I was doing a training session for a chief and council, and members of the community were there observing, and I noticed one of them was taking notes. She was an elder. And she came and spoke to me during the break, and she said, what did he mean when he said this and this and this? And so I told her what I meant. And she said, I want to tell you the reason why I'm asking is I want to translate it into our native language so I can document it for generations to come. So I said, why did you wait to ask me? Why talking to your chief and council saying, should we make it a priority to preserve the tradition in our native language? And if so, what will be some of the things that we will do? So my Mrs. Innocent had stumbled into giving her encouragement, and sometimes you need that. Any more questions online?
We have one
Yeah,
online.
I have one online. Yep.
This one is from Kristen Young. With us being self-governing, what are your thoughts on how do we move away from relying on government funds to our own source revenue, which would allow us to do more for our nation?
Sorry, can you repeat before you give the mic away?
With us being self-governing, what are your thoughts on how do we move away from relying on government funds to our own source revenue to allow us to do more for our nation?
Externally provided funds compared to self-generating funds?
I think it's because we receive federal government funds to operate our government, so to get own source revenue, so we can do.
Own generated funds. Anyone ready?
Because there. Well, instead of like musical chairs, thank you for the question, Kristen. With us being self-government, how do we move away from the external dependence on the Canadian government? I think that's a tough feature to accomplish. I'm not saying it's impossible, but given the current circumstances of forestry not paying like it used to, tourism looking like the next obvious choice. I don't have a great answer for you. I really don't, because recognizing that the federal government funds so many things, you know, within this province. For example, my employer from the provincial health authority and into the BC ambulance service as well too. I don't think the issue so much is relying on federal funds, but I mean, how do we really flex that self-determination and weigh it and find these opportunities? Economic development isn't my strong suit, but I'm gonna take the opportunity to say, like, I'm not sure quite if tourism is gonna be the most obvious answer for us. I mean, given that, you know, we come from the most beautiful part of the world, and how can we do tourism in a controlled way where we don't lose that charm of the West Coast, but also to like turn it into a money-making opportunity? I would be really hesitant to really rely heavily just on tourism, but would be really interested in learning more about what we're currently doing when it comes to, you know, investing in other places. Speaking with Evan most recently, and he was talking about some trading opportunities with China. I think more on a global scale would be maybe our next step, rather than just keeping it local when it comes to things like tourism or, you know, smaller development opportunities. Those opportunities are always there for our citizens. If you know, like there's a business that's missing from our TSL, or they have a particular vision in mind, but I think exploring options on a larger stage or playing field would be my obvious go-to.
Thanks, Kristen. So yeah, that's the exact understanding of when we signed the treaty, that we were eventually going to move away from government funds and be self-reliant. And Nicole is right. We need to think bigger. We have our small area, but we have to think outside of that. And you know, and look at where we're investing. Are we not just in whatever stocks and etc., but also real estate? real estate is huge. I see other, actually, just to use as an example, the two smallest Manu nations, they're really moving in economic development. What are they doing that we're not doing? But yeah, we need to put some serious effort and some risks, because there is risks that come along with investments and business. And so our focus, we need to broaden our focus to bring in the dollars. And how do we do that? Well, maybe we need to shake the trees a little bit harder. We need to expand. We invest in our citizens to start their own businesses. Are we investing enough? Is it enough for them to secure funding with NEDC? How big what are their dreams, are their businesses that they're wanting to start? It could be anything from a small little taking care of lawns to owning a resort. Where are we in supporting the citizens so that they're able to also contribute to the economy and provide jobs, etc. Yeah, business is a huge world. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen, for the question. How do we move away from relying on government funds and use our own source revenue to operate? I think it begins with education. It begins with education of our own people to do our own work in our own territory and for the nation. I think we're lacking in that area. For whatever reason, we educate them, but they don't come back to work for us. So that's a challenge, but that comes into a bunch of other things, right? Like, they can come work for us, but how are they housed? And then it comes to housing. Well, maybe we should do real estate. There's lots of pieces that need to fit together. But I think it starts with education. I think entrepreneurs or people that have ideas don't know that their ideas can build into something really big. They just need someone to support them and give them some kudos for having the ideas to move forward. I think there's lots of opportunity in forestry byproducts. This is Uncle Evan's wheelhouse. He loves this stuff, but there's like the tiles things that he does, and there's like the biodegradable foam, packaging foam. I think we need to give HGB a little bit of latitude to actually work at arm's length and do what they need to do to make us money. I feel like there's lots of opportunity off TSL to invest our money in things that could bring us a better profit and more money so that we can be self-reliant. As my other co-panelists said, expand tourism and really broaden our horizons when it comes to making money, because we do really need to be self-sufficient. But I also think it comes from home. And I say this with a light heart that my daughter and I own a company, but it's her money. And it comes from a teacher, not be asking the government for Christmas money, not be asking the government for everything possible. It comes from your house. And that's where I find that a lot of this stuff is rooted. How do we teach our people that they need to be self-reliant themselves too? And how do we involve them in the nation so that the nation as a whole can have a fire under their butt to be self-reliant too?
I'm curious thought. Usually when a meeting goes longer than an hour and a half, we usually recommend to take a break. But in this case, the 5 o'clock is approaching in just 15 minutes. So we could say, if anyone has, besides a question, has a note of appreciation for what you received in terms of good, high quality debate, you can express those as well. That could be, from my perspective, might be useful for the conversation. If anyone.
We have 2 questions.
You have 2 more
Or
questions.
3 questions.
Three.
And then
We got 3 questions and 1 online.
Okay. So we'll end once we hear those, and
Now
if we can
people are
make the
thinking.
responses brief, would then enable us to cover all four. But
You want the online one?
they're online.
Or I think Jeff was next.
Oh,
You can ask it tomorrow.
My driver.
actually, I was gonna ask the same question Christian was gonna ask. How are we gonna become self-sufficient? And what are some of your ideas you have? I know Nicole mentioned tourism, but there must be some other ideas people have. And I guess I, at the beginning of, after we signed treaty, I remember a comment from Tom Happynook. He said, we need to find an anchor tenant for our nation. And, you know, we haven't got there yet, but if there's some ideas that you have, that you would support at the council level, I appreciate hearing them. And also, I think our natural resources aren't gonna be reliant for, 10 years from now. You know, how are we gonna survive? You know, I guess tourism is 3 or 4 month activity right now as it is. So we can expand the tourism industry. I think that's the way to go. With the road improvement, I hear a lot of kudos about the road improvement. I think we gotta start taking advantage of that somehow. I know our businesses and council is trying to see what they can do, but do you have any ideas how to improve that area?
Before you answer, in the interest of time and to accommodate the 3 questions, maybe we'll hear them first. And then if you can condense so we can fit within until we can end the session at 5. So what are the 3?
I don't have a question.
Oh, I think Rita.
Yeah, read
Are there more online? You said.
Yeah, there's one more, but Rita was next.
Fine, my question has to do with health. I was wondering if there was a way that we could better especially for travel. Because my daughter came over this week and she was frustrated. They put her in a hotel downtown Vancouver, right in the heart of town. And her appointment was BTH. And she's blind, right? And her husband has to take her everywhere. How can we better that for her not to be so far away from, there's hotels by BTH, right? And they can pick those. Right, and I don't know if there's a question there or a comment, but I'd like to see them do
I can
better.
add it to the list of things that we can cover. We'll hear the 2 questions from the online, and if you then we'll take turn answering them. Just want to contain it within the 10 minutes that we still have.
In our nation, we say, we don't go.
You have online or you don't?
I do. Or just somebody just joined that we're trying to figure out who they are. From Shannon. Look at this. What steps can parents and counselors take to encourage youth participation and make sure their voices are heard in meetings?
In the one and the last one?
That was it.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of these land in front of you. If you can continue commenting to minutes each, that would be great. Then we can finish as promised. If we can still enjoy the refreshment in the back end, hopefully you can give us the closing chant. That would be very nice to contain as well. So. Who would like to open?
All 3.
Yeah, actually, yeah, if you can make it concise, make it one for the others, and then we can have the closing. Go ahead.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
So I'm not sure if I've got it right, but Jeff, investment ideas, is that was your question? So for me, something I would like to bring to the table is real estate. And Tom's right, we do need an anchor, and we shouldn't be shy about reaching out and partnering up with outside groups, companies, etc. There's nothing wrong with partnerships. Bringing more people to the table, I think is key. And the health and better travel plans. I think that, I know that there's, policies around First Nations Health Authority, but I really think, because I've heard this from others also, better ways to make travel arrangements, and I'm pretty sure Karen and her team can tackle that, because it doesn't make sense to stay on one side, and I know one citizen had to walk to back and forth for their treatments half hour each way. So there's better ways that I'm sure the health travel can be done. And steps for youth participation, so their voices you've heard. I think with our youth worker, we have a youth worker. I think maybe it should be expanded more, so that our youth worker is also not just responsible for activities for the afternoon, but reaching out to all of the youth to hear their voice, to create circles or safe spaces for them to gather. I know we've talked about a youth council for years and years, as long as I've been around. And we haven't actually put one in place yet. I think I saw something about that though. But youth definitely migrate to youth, and you see mentors in the community. I mean, I could bang off quite a few names that I see in youth taking on leadership roles just naturally. And to tap in to those people, to be able to create spaces for other youth to join in.
We need to rank the other two.
Oh, okay.
I'm still looking at five
Thanks.
from people.
There's only a few.
We're trying to stay on time.
Okay.
Okay, for your first question about, how do we move away from government funds, and I'm gonna quote you directly. We're open for business. I think saying that, we need to also have an open mind, so, no idea is a bad idea. Bring it forward, you know, what do citizens want, what are they willing to accept to happen on TSL? And the other things that I had, and this is pie in the sky for me, this isn't necessarily something that council's gonna agree to because Sherry said so. But I think, like, if you look at a company like Clydecote Wild out in, just past Tofino, one of my good friends works there, and he was telling us that people pay $7,000 a night to go there, and you can only get there by helicopter. So they fly you in, they fly you out, you sign an NDA as a staff member, you can't say who's staying there. I think we live and we're from a perfect territory for something like that. I agree with Connie, real estate, and especially real estate off TSL, and I've said this before at other meetings. We should have Huu-ay-aht housing in Vancouver, and our citizens should be able to buy a condo and rent a condo. And same for every other urban area. I think we need to invest in off TSL opportunities. So you wanna open a Mr. Mike's? What do you need from us? How can we help you? In terms of health, I had to deal with Huu-ay-aht, patient travel on Christmas Eve when my dad broke his hip. And I can tell you wholeheartedly that the staff in that department are willing to bend and flex and help you however you need help, within the limitations that they have. But just simply asking, I can't walk, I can't see, I can't whatever, and saying I need a hotel that is here or there, or I need a ferry here or there, they're willing to help you. I think just people don't understand that part. And something that's unique about Huu-ay-aht patient travel is the patient travel that the government gives us for you to travel to your doctor's appointments is not enough money. The nation actually tops up the amount that they give you. And if you were not from a treaty settlement or a treaty nation, your allotment for patient travel would be a lot less.
Okay.
For parents and counselors to encourage kids to participate, it begins at home at a very young age. I'm sure those of us who are of the right age can remember being told to sit down, shut up, and listen. And that's where it comes from. It comes from home. We have a Warriors program. We have a youth worker. We could partner with Banfield Community School. And there's other engagements with the nation where youth can be encouraged to raise their voice and tell us what is going on with the nation and what they need from us.
Very much. Sorry to rush you. Get one more.
I'll do the best I can. Thank you. Good questions. How could we be more self-sufficient? One thing comes to mind. And I would love to see our nation partner with universities, more of the academic side, and offer, training rounds. Like what we've done with the treaty. I mean, what we've done here is quite unique, and I think there is more of a demand from the academic side when it comes to having opportunities to engage with communities like Huu-ay-aht. It would be nice to see some of that happen. I mean, I realize that they do it with the UVic students at the Marine Center, but it'd be really great to see it happen and be able to showcase some of the cultural safety or strengths, or, just like, how did we get here in this process? And if there was a way to do that with UBC, UVic, or Vancouver Island University, for example, and offer some of that coursework, there's a lot of money in international students and in the academic world. And I think we have so many brilliant people in this nation that we should try to find a way to showcase that a little bit deeper. And I think I'm running out of time, so I'll go faster. As for health logistics, I'm gonna echo what Sherry had said with our departments do go above and beyond, but maybe there's a list that potentially could be shared with citizens where they can make a choice, or, let the staff know if there's a preference, because that's hard, coming over to the mainland and not from over here, and you're, working against disabilities and locations and everything else, like that just seems really, really unfortunate and harder than it needs to be. And there should be a solution in there somewhere. I'm gonna tie these all together as I answer this youth council bit, and how can parents and youth and the existing council ensure that they're heard. It's getting people involved, providing opportunity, bringing back culture in the city, things like that. And really upholding that youth council as a decision maker if we get some kids that are quite interested in this. So, right. Okay.
Thank you so much. Mission accomplished. Thank you very much. The only thing that's left is a closing comment and music by Hubert. Can do that. Just except for my part, I really enjoyed working with you with this. Really have great vision and commitment. I don't know which one of you will make it in. It's not to me to say, but very, very good presentation. And good to end with this meeting.
People are representatives that came on to say. For candidates. Came out tonight, put yourself in that very vulnerable atmosphere. Being able to say some words. Ooh.
It's a beautiful. Good way to start the meeting, beautiful way to end the meeting. Thank you very much. And thank you for the active and enthusiastic and very interesting participation. Pleasure to work with you.
I just want to say that, for two elders coming from Vancouver to participate in this, we did very well to keep this going until 5 o'clock.
Absolutely. Your questions were very good.
Yeah. Thank you both.